The Legend of Zelda isn't just a franchise. It's a feeling, a memory, a story you didn't know you needed until you lived it. We don't just play these games, we grow with them. They remind us of how it feels to be young, to dream, to be brave in a world too big to understand. Today, I want to talk about The Legend of Zelda. Few franchises have shaped gaming as profoundly. Fewer still have reached across generations the way that Zelda has, evoking awe, curiosity, and that deep sense of wonder that only can come from true adventure. I once heard that Shigeru Miyamoto based the first Zelda game on his childhood, on the joy of exploring the woods behind his house, pretending to be a hero in his own story. And honestly, that's Zelda to its core. Every game in the series feels like a stepping outside your front door into something bigger than yourself. It's why people buy entire consoles just to play these games, because Zelda doesn't just tell you a story, it invites you to live one. So today, I want to talk about the Zelda games that I've completed and why even a bad Zelda game is still better than most anything else out there. I'm going to be ranking them from the experiences that I had, and I encourage you to come along. Number 8, Skyward Sword. You ever trip over your own feet in a dream? That's what this game feels like sometimes. Alright, let's rip the band-aid off. Wii Motion Plus controls. We all get it. At best, they were ambitious. At worst, they tied the game's shoelaces together and told it to sprint. It hurts more because Skyward wanted to be the origin story, the 25th anniversary, the beginning of the legend, and in some moments, it feels like it. Drawing lightning into your sword during the final battle, that's what the hero of time is supposed to feel like. But then you remember cutting logs with precision motion angles like you're a glorified lumberjack. The pacing chokes, the backtracking drags, the flying is shallow, and the sword swings, well, they feel like a tech demo. And yet, there's still heart here. Skyloft is cozy, the Academy gives Link some long overdue humanity, and his relationship with Zelda may be the most sincere in the entire series. Fi may be robotic, but she gets a goodbye, and that final hour almost redeems the rest. It's not a bad game, but it's a game at war with itself, between the weight of its legacy and the lightness of its own touch. Also, it made Link no longer left-handed, and I'm not really ready to forgive it for that. Number 7, the Minish Cap. What if Link could shrink? What if Zelda felt like a Saturday morning cartoon that was secretly full of heart? This one is a bit of a sleeper hit, and no one saw it coming. From Capcom, no less. But Minish Cap understands something that few 2D Zeldas do. How to scale wonder. 1 minute, you're a tiny speck in a library dodging shoes the size of mountains. The next, you're wielding a cane that flips platforms like pancakes. The core mechanic, growing and shrinking, isn't just a gimmick. It's a perspective. The world feels huge. Not because it's open, because it's dense, detailed, crafted with charm. Sure, the combat is just press button to win, and yeah, the story is forgettable outside of the talking hat, who's basically a Jiminy Cricket with trauma. But the puzzles, the cleverness, the sense of discovery is all there. Minish Cap doesn't try to be epic. It tries to be clever. And in doing so, it quietly becomes one of the most creative games in the entire franchise. Number 6, Twilight Princess. There was a time in my life where I thought this was the peak of cool. And maybe it still is. Twilight Princess was my Zelda. For a lot of us, it may have been the first game that we ever beat, the first one that made us feel like we were the hero. It's gritty, cinematic. It leans hard into the fantasy drama. Link jumps off a horse in slow motion. He finishes battles with that little spin flourish. Midna is cryptic and cold and kind of perfect. And the dungeons? I would argue some of the best in the series. Snow Peak Ruin is a gothic romance inside a dungeon crawl. Arbiter's Grounds gives us a spinning Beyblade of death. And double claw shots? Come on, it's a game changer. But as much as it shines, it plays it safe. Linear to a fault. Most items are used once and forgotten. And the wolf segments? Hit or miss. Probably more miss. Still, Twilight Princess wears its heart on its sleeve, and even if it feels like it's trying to be Ocarina's edgier cousin, it earns its place. For many of us, this was the moment when Zelda could feel like a big kid's game. Number 5. Tears of the Kingdom. This is where Zelda became a sandbox, and somewhere along the way, I realized I missed the old script of the prior games. Let's get this out of the way. Tears of the Kingdom is an engineering playground. Its creativity is unchained. You can build war machines, flying devices, automated monster grinders, and the game wants you to. It hands you the keys and says, go nuts. And that's a loaded statement because I've seen people make hover bikes, giant kaiju, Thomas the Tank Engine with laser eyes. It's glorious. But here's where I struggled. When everything is possible, nothing feels essential. Sometimes the puzzle isn't how do I solve this, it's what's the laziest, jankiest solution that I can cobble together before I get bored. And that can be fun until it isn't. Like turning on cheat codes for an afternoon in one of your favorite games. Sure, it's awesome to have complete dominion over the world that you're playing in, but eventually it loses its nuance. And that's what I experienced with Tears. Listen, I play games like I'm decoding a message. What did the developers intend here? What is this puzzle supposed to be? But this game doesn't whisper intentions. It shrugs and says, hey man, whatever works. And that can feel lonely, like you're in a vast world that no longer cares about how you move through it. The depths are eerie. The Sky Islands are undercooked. The Imprisoning War, if I hear one more time about the Imprisoning War, I'm going to lose it. The story, though emotionally loaded, is told in broken flashbacks and vague mythos. Zelda sacrificed lands, but so much else just floats. Yet for all of that, I played this game for hours, fused hundreds of weapons, flew through the clouds, built carts that shouldn't have worked, and watched as they somehow succeeded. Tears is a brilliant game. And if this is your favorite Zelda, I can easily see why. But for me, it's just not always intimate. And maybe that's what I was hoping for. Number 4, Link's Awakening. This is Zelda as a dream, and maybe the most sincere one that it's ever had. Link's Awakening is the Zelda game that quietly asks the biggest questions. Who are you in a world that doesn't know you? Would you still be a hero if the world ended when you won? It's strange, offbeat, a little tragic, and completely unforgettable. The 2019 remake gave it a new coat of toy box shine, but the soul was always there, in its island full of oddities, in Marin's voice echoing across the sea, and the way every dungeon unlocked just gives you a little more of the world that's doomed to vanish. It's the best kind of 2D Zelda because it's the one that makes you forget that it's 2D. Every item feels like a little epiphany. The dungeons are dense and fair, the side characters are weird but lovable. In Link, he's not there to save Zelda. He's just trying to make sense of where he's landed. You'll finish it, sit there, and wonder, did it ever really happen? And that's the magic. That's the dream. Number 3, Majora's Mask. You're not here to save the world. Not at first. You're just trying to survive. And that changes everything. Majora's Mask is what happens when Zelda gets weird. When it stops being about Ganon and Triforce relics and becomes about loss, time, and identity. You have 72 hours. The moon is falling. The town folks are dancing at a festival no one will attend, and you, as Link, aren't saving a kingdom. You're saving a moment, a person, a promise. You wear masks that aren't costumes, they're memories. Ghosts. You become people who couldn't finish what they started. A Goron hero, a Zora father, a Deku child. You're not their replacement, you're their redemption. And the worst part? You can't save everybody. Some timelines are lost. Some side stories are cut off when you rewind time. You're constantly resetting, and with every reset, you remember more than the world does. And that's haunting, but it's also beautiful, because underneath that existential dread is a heartbeat of a town trying to smile through the end, of a player learning that being a hero doesn't mean stopping the end, it means showing up anyway. Number 2, Ocarina of Time. This is where the legend becomes eternal. Ocarina didn't just define a generation, it birthed it. This was Zelda's 3D debut, and it didn't tiptoe into the world, it walked in like it belonged there. And it did. The time travel mechanics inspired. You feel the weight of becoming an adult. You see the world decay. Every dungeon, every boss, every fight, every melody on that ocarina, it all builds into a grand, bittersweet arc of destiny. This was the game that showed what adventure meant in a 3D space. Z-targeting, horseback combat, cinematic cutscenes. It raised the bar. And behind all of that innovation is a story of loss and responsibility. Link doesn't want this burden. He's thrown into it. And when he finally wins, he doesn't get to keep it. He's sent back, a child again, with memories that no one shares. It's heartbreaking. It's perfect. And for me, and maybe for you, it was one of the first games that made me feel that games could be art. Number 1, Breath of the Wild. What if Zelda was about being small in a world that forgot you? Breath of the Wild stripped everything down. It doesn't care about dungeons or linearity or even tradition. It handed you a stick and said, "That's enough. Now go save the world." And somehow, it worked. This wasn't just a game, it was a feeling. Of climbing a hill because you wanted to know what was on the other side, of cooking dubious food and bonding with your horse, of remembering who you were not because of a cutscene that told you, but because you found the place where it happened. Hyrule is broken, quiet, and it's your fault. You failed. Zelda held the line for 100 years and you just woke up, alone, underpowered, and unsure. And the Master Sword? You didn't just find it, you had to earn it. By growing, by exploring, by becoming the person who deserves it again. One of the most picture-perfect parts of this game is the understanding that you have to have the heart to be worthy of the Master Sword again. And it paints a beautiful picture. This game isn't perfect. The weapons break, the story is fragmented, but what this game understands is that Zelda isn't about saving the princess. It's about saving yourself from fear, from apathy, from forgetting what wonder feels like. This game is a love letter to curiosity, to the kid in all of us who still wants to go play in the woods and find treasure behind a rock. So, that's my ranking. My adventures through Hyrule. If you've got one that I haven't played, or you think I've got it wrong, let me know in the comments below. I'm always ready to expand my horizons in this series. Until then, thank you so much for watching. And remember, even the worst Zelda game still is a better adventure than most.